All right, friends, I'm back. I'm going to do one more video. JasonBlaha, going to do another reaction video, one more. It's T-Man, and yeah, I'm going to react to the gym lifting recruiting fitness slave himself, the gear slave, JasonBlaha. Blaha says, why 99% of people make no gains in the gym. Okay, I know why they don't make any gains, but let's see what he has to say.
There are two primary reasons why people do not make gains in the gym. Hey everybody, it's JasonBlaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today.
If it's muscular gains, then I will tell you right away in the beginning of this video, because when it comes to muscular gains, again, what is a unique feature of untrained subjects? Well, a unique feature of eccentric exercise. A unique feature of eccentric exercise is that untrained subjects become stiff and sore the next day due to muscle damage. Now, what's a unique feature of eccentric exercise in trained people? Nothing. They don't get damaged the next day, so there's no growth. Without that damage, there is zero growth. It's really simple. There's no adaptation. The adaptation means something has to be damaged, and then it has to repair and remodel a lot stronger so that it is stronger from further assaults. That's the whole point. That's the adaptation process. If you go up in a mountain and you can't breathe because the air is very thin, your body has to adapt to it to make you stronger. Otherwise, you'll suffer and you could die. So there you go. That's what adaptations are. They protect you. When you get an adaptation to something, it means the protective effect. That's it. It's really simple. And so what gets this damage? Unaccustomed, untrained, and unfamiliar forms get that damage. And it can't happen with a repeated bout because there's something called repeated bout effect phenomena. It protects muscle from any more damage with a repeated bout. So it still has to go through repair and remodeling and a bunch of stuff. It's complicated. But yeah, you could do concentric, but are you not getting gains in the gym doing concentric? Yeah, if you do concentric, your body will adapt to the weight. That's totally different. Adapting to lifting weight, the nervous system adapting to lifting weights, that's based on concentric. You could do a lot of concentric, but eccentric is very, very, very specific.
For me, this is something I noticed 25 years ago in the gym, right? 25 years ago, first real gym I went to after I learned some basics and been taught some things. I got a, full-fledged gym membership on my own, went and started.
Look, he still doesn't know what he's doing. He says he's bodybuilding, but bodybuilding is mostly eccentric work. We're not really focused on concentric. Who's focused on concentric? Powerlifting. These powerlifting people or Olympic lifters, they're focused on concentric. They're not focused on the eccentric. They still do some. Not saying they don't do that in weightlifting.
Training at a really big old school iron gym, right? And one of the things I noticed was that there were people there who weren't really particularly fit, particularly muscular, right? They didn't really have gains. Like you could tell maybe they weren't out of shape. Like they didn't look horrible. They didn't look like the average American. But, they were definitely not what you would think of as, oh, this is someone who looks like they work out, okay? They didn't have that look, and I remember that at the time. And you would chat with some of them, and they would be there regularly. It's like, man, I'd be in there all the time, right? I was really trying to go hard at this early on as a young man. And, you would see them in there 3-4 times a week. And I'd start chatting with one of them, and it'd be older guys, they'd be 30s, 40s. And you watch what they do. And like one of them, I watched him, and all the time I look over, he had one plate per side on the bar, one full plate on the bench and on the squat. Okay? These were two lifts he did all the time. He really liked preacher curls too. He actually had a little bit of bicep.
Even his squat is concentric. There's no eccentric work here. Look at his squat right there. He stops and then he goes back to the top.
And
to the top, see? He's at the top. Now watch when he goes down.
One of the things I noted.
There he goes, right there. Like he's taking a crap on the crapper. So this is a concentric movement. This is not being focused on the eccentric. If you want to focus on eccentric, then you should start from the bottom and then stop at this point right here and then go back to the bottom again. See that? You don't have to do full concentric. You have to do eccentric work. But he does concentric because he stops and then goes back to the top.
He did 3 sets of 10. I asked him on that, and he's like, "Oh yeah. I mean, till I start my chest day, and so I start."
You see that? So there is zero growth. If those muscle fibers are not getting micro injured, there's no growth there. There's nothing going on there.
My leg day, I started with.
And like I said, muscles have a myonuclear domain size limit. They can only get so big. They reach a ceiling limit during hypertrophic process, beyond where that satellite cell can donate any more extranuclei to that domain to support further muscle growth. That's why when you're young, you should try to get as many of these adaptations as you can, because science will tell you when you get older, it's going to become very, very difficult to get these nuclei to expand that domain. And trust me, I found out the hard way. I myself have found out the hard way. It's astronomically difficult now for me to do that. I have to work so much harder at it. But look how skinny he's got. He has no forearms and no arms. This is what he looks like in public. This is what Blaha looks like outside when you see him. See how skinny he looks? Look at his arms, his shoulders, his forearms. There's no muscle. There's nothing there. He simply dropped weight. That's all he did. He lost weight. In other words, he lost fat. Yeah, that's all he's doing here. He's an endurance athlete, lifting slave. Concentric is endurance.
Bench and squat, you got to do the basics, right? Which most of us agree with. All right, what would he do? You do 3 sets of 10. And I asked him that. I said, man, you do 3 sets of 10 on that all the time.
His workouts are very lazy. He goes there, does 1 set, then he goes there, does 1 set, then he goes over there, then back and forth. He circulates a few times, and then it's over. These are lazy workouts. He thinks if I just do a little bit every day, I'm going to get the physique of my dreams. You're only really losing body fat, especially him starving himself or whatever he's doing there.
He's like, yep, just like the old school guys back in the day. Name some of these.
The old school drug addicts back in the day. Yes, Blaha, okay. Look at this face. My God, look at this guy. This guy is a lifting slave, bro.
For air guys. I asked him, will you ever change the weight? He goes, nope. So he would do the 135 pounds, which would look like 60 kilos to people who don't use freedom units. He would do 3 sets of 10 with that. And ask him, well, how long?
I think Blaha needs a suntan. He needs some sun, man. He needs a tan, dude.
You've been doing that. He's like, oh gosh, 10, 12 years.
For God's sakes, Blaha, you live in Texas, for God's sakes. Go out in the sun, man. Go and get some sun. Get some vitamin D, dude.
I asked him, well, why are you doing this? Well, I want to at least just maintain. But he didn't really.
I bet you Blaha has no testicles.
He had much to maintain. And the only thing he ever went hard on was the preacher curl. Yeah, I remember seeing this one guy. And I chatted with other guys who did similar stuff, and then you had all the hardcore guys. There were actual bodybuilders, powerlifters, and some athletes and stuff at this gym too. Trained obviously totally different, their own communities, and they all made gains, they encouraged you. But you see these people who didn't make any progress, and you're like, you've been doing that for 10 or 12 years? Like, this guy comes to the gym at least 3 or 4 days a week, because I see him in here all the time. And I'd also chat with one guy, and he's like, oh, I work out, 6 days a week. All right. Yeah, see where we're going with this? If you are not training either to failure or progressively overloading, those are the 2 issues. Like, people are just not training hard enough, and I'm not saying you have to go all the way.
That's like Blaha. He doesn't train hard enough.
To failure.
Really, it's about training smart and then training hard.
You need to be pretty dang close. You need to be pretty dang close. And if you are not, then your sets may not be stimulating much muscle growth. They may not be stimulating much adaptation at all. And even people who want to lose fat, gaining muscle is helpful to speeding up your metabolic rate. Okay, it's helpful to
So this is why 99% of people do not gain muscle, because they watch people like JasonBlaha lifting on YouTube that are taking steroids. Yeah, especially him, like taking roids, whatever these people are doing online. They watch these people and then they mimic them. And they think, well, I have to do these sets and reps. That's what's going to build me a muscle. Sets and reps don't build muscles. They don't build anything other than sarcoplasmic muscle. If you want to pump more of this glycogen into the muscle, you could pump it. Go in there and pump it up. Yeah. But to build muscle, it's based on muscle damage. You have to lose to gain. You have to lose to gain each time. Yeah.
speeding up your metabolic rate.
If you're not
Jackpot City is the
Look, if you're not willing to lose, then how the hell can you gain in life? You understand me? Life is a gamble.
You have to understand this. All right, progressive overload, progressive tension is the name of the game. Now, does that mean it has to be always progressive bar weight? No, because tension is on the individual
Sure it is.
muscle fiber. And fatigue throughout sets obviously makes certain muscle fibers fatigue. They get plenty of mechanical tension and it goes to the next ones. But when we don't change anything, that adaptation becomes stale. Doesn't mean it has to happen on every exercise. No. Does it have to happen all the time? No. Because if we're training close to failure, even if we're not able to add anything for long periods of time because we're getting more advanced, we're still getting a good training stimulus, and you will see it over time. So here's the point there. We can come over to training hard. Yeah, you need progressive overload. Okay, we need progressive overload. You either need to be adding volume, preferably in the form of reps, or you need to be adding weight to your lifts. Now, instead of saying to the bar, I'll say to the lifts. You might be on a machine, you might be on a cable. Still tension. Okay. This is a requirement for stimulating muscle growth. Right? You have to be increasing something. And let's come over to the training hard. You can't even avoid it. I've had people say, well, if we just train to failure. Well, as long as you understand that will also mean what? An increase in the bar or increase in reps. If you're making progress, if you're gaining muscle, what's going to happen? You're going to add reps forever trying to go to failure. In other words, if you try to leave 135 on the bar, might be 8 reps now, but what happens when it reaches 20? What happens when it reaches 27? You're going to do 5 sets of that every workout? What about when it reaches 30? You see what I mean? You're going to need to add some weight because it's going to get ridiculous. I was going to say going much beyond about 20 reps. Unless it's band work or stuff like that, probably not doing much for you. I'm going to say for most people that's around your practical cutoff. Right? Most of our muscle growth are
Hi, brother. I don't... Man, I bet she's going to use those elastic bands against for his arms, right?
quality growth is going to be in about that 5 to 20 rep range.
The quality growth is going to be at that 5 to 12 rep range. What growth? What's growing? Your belly?
All right, that's where the magic happens.
Where's the magic? Because I don't see it on you. Bro, you don't have to talk because the body would be doing the talking. And your body says there's no growth, okay? Because it's kind of obvious. You could see it.
So, that being said, you're going to
I don't know what you're talking about.
have to have progressive overload. And the people who are not achieving this, or they're trying to achieve it through, I'm just going to cheat my way through it. If I'm going to use bad form and cheat and bounce and blah. Well, no, that's still not progressive overload. That's bouncing more weight around. That's not the muscles doing more work.
You think these elastics are doing anything? Come on, think about it, man. This is endurance work. You people have to be really daft not to understand this is endurance.
You have to understand the difference. And I'm not saying that won't matter either, because if that...
Look how small those arms are, that chest, the shoulders, everything. It's so tiny because he's suffering from sarcopenia and it's getting worse over time. The arms are small, the waist is wide and big, and the legs are skinny legs.
progresses. Like if you use the same amount of swing or bounce and you still add 20 pounds over time with no change in the amount of cheating, sure, that will count, right? They'll do the same thing. But it's a little harder to measure and track. But yeah, we have to have progress and we have to have hard sets if we want to actually ensure progress. And the people who don't make progress, this is exactly why. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next.
Yes, very informative. Not to do any of this. See you in the next one. Ciao, friends. That is the reason why 99% are not gaining muscle, because they're watching Blaha. See you in the next one. Ciao, friends.